I would never make a video like this, but I made a tweet not too long ago. I think, 24 hours ago, almost on the dot. And it kind of boomed. I think this is the biggest tweet I've ever had. And for the wrong reasons. So in the title, or in the tweet I responded to, it was originally a Dragon Ball Legends post where they basically were revealing a small detail of Revival UI Zenkai, which they always do. And I saw this: when two allies are tagged Universe Rep or God Key, gain damage up and reduce sub counts. Normally when I see stuff like that, it icks me. And the reason being, I don't like it when things that I feel like are a lifeline for a character are restricted to a team. And so I saw this and I was worried that if, this is a very hype Zenkai, I do not want them to restrict something that makes the character borderline usable to a team-specific thing. Now, there are exceptions to this. God Key is one of those. I mean, God Key gets buffs religiously. If you're team locked to God Key, usually this is not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be. But there's a lot of other teams, like for lesser units, like any DB unit, I feel like I could name a lot of them that they have some sort of buff restriction. And the biggest one being the Green World Tournament Goku. I should have him pulled up, but he literally, his big damage inflicted is restricted to him being on a DB team. And that damage inflicted that is being locked is what he needs in order to do a reasonable amount of damage. And so I remember him being like, I think even Goresh mentioned this, that them restricting him to have two other DB members on the team with him was like the worst thing they could have done. It killed the character. And so after seeing that, I made this tweet and I said, stop restricting kits to specific teams, right? That was it. And again, my reasoning, I just don't like it when a character becomes basically stuck on one team and that team gets killed off. For Revival UI, this is probably not that big of a deal. I'm sure he'll be fine. It just kind of irked me. And I probably picked the wrong character to do this because a lot of the responses that I got were mostly negative, understandably. Keep restricting kits. It's healthy. Under certain circumstances, I would agree. Like, let me also say this, because where there was a bunch of people mentioning, like, they're like, oh, you probably think that the Super Saiyan 4 Indestructible should be like normal. What I meant by restricting kits is specifically just basic stat buffs. Things like, for example, getting 20% sustained damage cut to bring it up to 70% if you're on a specific team. That I don't like, because if you have a unit with 50% sustained damage cut base, they get an additional 20% if they're on a specific team. My issue with that is, so I have to run them on this team in order for them to become usable. Like, every other unit in the meta would have 70% sustained damage cut. I mean, now it's damage. Now it's like damage guard. But I mean, even with damage guard, let's make this example, right? Let's say the baseline for a 2025 unit is 200% damage guard. I don't know the exact number. I'm still not used to the new system. Right? If the baseline is 200% damage guard to be like reasonable in the meta, like if MUI Goku had 20% or 200% damage guard, right? That's normal, right? If you Zenkai or give a unit a plat and you basically go, all right, we're gonna give them 170% damage guard, but they'll get an additional 30% if they're on this team. That I do not like. That I hate. It pisses me off because other units don't have that restriction, so why give it to a unit, especially when the team is bad, like DB or any other, pick any tag that does not get buffs normally. That is my issue. So when it comes to characters like Super Saiyan 4 Goku, who gets his indestructible by being on Daima, that is fine. That is an understandable restriction. Like, I think that is a mechanic that he doesn't need to be good, right? It's really strong, but he doesn't need it, right? He still functions very good outside of Daima. He's a very, very, very good unit. With the indestructible, it just gives him a little edge, right? It's not a crazy mechanic. I mean, Sword of Hope Trunks is another notable unit that has that. Well, his isn't indestructible, his is endurance. But the point being, indestructible is not a game-breaking mechanic, I would say, on most characters. That if it was a lifeline, like if Super Saiyan 4 Goku was bad and the indestructible is what made him borderline, then yes, I'd have a problem with it. But he's such a good unit, he doesn't need it. And so I don't think that they should restrict big stuff like that. Like Majin Vegeta, I remember seeing a bunch of people on this post. Let me see if I can find one where they were talking about Ultra Majin Vegeta and like, imagine if that was locked to Majin Buu Saga, he'd be a lot less toxic, and which is very true. And quite honestly, again, oh yeah, here it is. Imagine if they locked Majin Vegeta's endurance buff or buff removal behind two other Majin Buu Saga allies. We'd be in a much better place with him right now because he couldn't be just ran on any team in the leader slot for free damage. Yes, that is understandable, right? If you take away his endurance or buff removal, right? I would say neither of those make Majin Vegeta insane, right? I think if you take away one or the other, it's fine. If you take away both, I don't know. But honestly, let's just say you take away both, right? Take away his endurance, buff removal, right? Sure, he's not as great, right? And I definitely think Ultra Majin Vegeta would not be number one in the game still. But if you take it away, he's still usable, right? He's still a solid unit. It doesn't kill him, right? He still has that insane blast counter that you can get 3 times. He has an insane AoE green card. Like, he has so many other things about his kit that make him oppressive that taking that away just, it still makes him good and it's healthier for the game, right? That stuff, that kind of stuff is fine. I just don't like it again when if Majin Vegeta, it was like, all right, if he's on Majin Buu Saga, he well, let's say he gets, honestly, let's put it this way. Well, you know what? Hold on. Let's pull up his stats, right? So let's take a look at this. Applies the following effects to self when battle starts. 200% of damage inflicted, reduces damage received by 70%, reduces impacts, explode damage received by 10%. So let's say this. If he's on Majin Buu Saga, right, with 2 other allies, he would get these full buffs, right? Now, let's say you take away one of those allies, right? Then it would go, maybe he gets 50% damage inflicted and 20% reduces damage received, right? He gets a sustained damage cut. My issue with doing stuff like that is now Majin Vegeta goes from a really good unit to pretty mid. I don't know if he'd be usable, right? It's hard to tell. It's usually easier to see when a unit has that restriction in the first place and we actually see like how they perform without it. But with Majin Vegeta, right, he's always going to have this because it's in his base stats. But if you take some of this away and restrict it to that specific team, that's where I start to have a problem, because I feel like that's killing a unit when again, it's basic stats that every unit has. So why isolate one, right? Maybe Majin Vegeta is probably not the best example of this. So let's go away from him. Someone's probably going to nitpick that. Let's take a unit that came out and was like, okay, Zamasu, right? This is a perfect example, right? Let's say, look at his stats now. Let's apply what I just said for Ultra Majin Vegeta for him, right? Let's say if he has 2 other future battle members, right? It goes from 170 to 120%, and maybe he gets 10% less, right? So 60% damage sustained cut, 120% damage inflicted, right? That's basically what World Tournament Goku had. Now he becomes horrible, right? And I guarantee you everyone will be calling him ass, right? It's stuff like that where with Zamasu, he's already not that great. If you take away this stuff and team restrict it, it's fucking killing him. He's not usable. That is what I'm trying to say with this tweet here. And a lot of people, yeah, like, this is actually a good thing. Did you want Forku to also have indestructible on every team? A lot of people thought that's what I was saying. And honestly, I don't blame them, because there wasn't really much context to that tweet. So I followed it up with this, and I'll read this out because I feel like I explained my thoughts pretty well. It seems I should clarify what I meant by this. Things like Super Saiyan 4 Goku's indestructible effect being locked to a specific team is fine. What I don't like is when a unit is missing out on basic stats that they now don't get because they have to be ran on a team that 80% of the time gets killed off within a month. I think this is probably a little extreme. I don't think most of them get killed off within a month. It feels like it though. I'd probably say like it probably happens like 30 or 40% of the time where they actually get killed off within, a few seconds or days, weeks, whatever. But the point being is that it feels like a lot. This is especially bad when the tag sucks ass to begin with, most notably with DB units. A lot of their kits, or so it feels like, that get Zenkais or Plats have things in their kit that are restricted to having the entire team be that Saga or tag for something as simple as 50% damage inflicted when, mind you, the unit is really bad without. This, again, exactly what I was saying with Zamasu. Take away 50% of his damage inflicted and lock it behind future, he's actually unusable. I mean, I think in actual pro play or god rank, you're not using this guy anyway. I'll be blunt. I mean, back when the demo meta was happening, I fought him, I think, twice when I was in god rank, and he got fucking annihilated. He's not that good in the first place. But if you take this away, he's actually unusable. Like, he has no reason to be used. Like, his damage would suck. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, yes, make Super Saiyan 4 Goku's indestructible effect universal, right? No, like big stuff like that, yeah, lock it. Okay, sure, it makes that team better. That's what that lock is for. It's not to make the unit better, it's to make that specific team better. And then if you want to use that specific unit outside of that team, then you probably have other options, right? That is fine. And so anyway, now that I explained that for like the 5th time, probably, if the buffs are not necessary to unit survival, like Super Saiyan 4 Goku's indestructible, then sure, team locking is fine. But when you take away the basic things a unit should have, causing them to be bad, it kills the unit's longevity. And yes, I do still agree with that. I mean, I did write it like not too long ago. Okay, actually here. Let's say, Legends Limited Gogeta Blue comes out, right? And he gets a big portion of his damage locked behind Fusion Warriors, right? Not that big of a deal for the most part, because Fusion Warriors tends to get good buffs. But it's also like, I like the leader slot, right? I have said the leader slot has been one of the best things the game's ever added, because it allows you to run units on other teams. Sure, there are circumstances where like you run Ultra Majin Vegeta on any other team and then, you have a really strong team. Sure, there are some downsides to the leader slot. I'm not saying that it's this flawless invention that has been perfect for the game. But I think there's been more good than bad, because especially for new players, it allows you to take a unit that you really like and put it on a team that you can use, right? Because most new players, they don't have, 3 Zenkai buffers, 2 HP buffers, whatever. They still don't have the fully fleshed out accounts that a lot of returning players would have. So the leader slot gives them a chance to survive. And I think the leader slot has been great. And so team restriction, right, with Gogeta Blue, for example, if you do the same thing with Zama Super for him, right, take away 50% of his damage inflicted, maybe he's still good, maybe he's still solid, but without it, he falls off a lot. Like, it's a basic stat that every other unit has, so why take it off of him? And putting him in the leader slot does not fix that issue, right? The leader slot is not this invincible tap this button and then boom, like all your problems are fixed. No, you still have to meet these restrictions. So to me, it kind of kills the point of the leader slot. Now I am not saying, before anyone says this, I'm not saying if you're in the leader slot, bypass all the restrictions, give Super Saiyan 4 Goku his indestructible. I'm just saying that the leader slot kind of feels like in some circumstances is being canceled out by the fact that some units have a restriction. But okay, I probably, I don't know if that's making total sense. I won't go too much into that. To me, it makes sense, but I know I'm probably not explaining it very well. I'll just keep reading this. I can totally understand the perspective of people not wanting things like UMV, X, Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and other toxic variations, and I agree wholeheartedly. For historically strong teams, there's a little bit of wiggle room because they will likely stay relevant since the team is consistently good. I still would rather they don't have the lock. All I'm saying is, I don't want units, especially ones that have been hyped up to get a buff in the form of a Zenkai or Plat, that then restricts them to a team in order to be usable. What I mean by this last line is like World Tournament Green Goku, where if he's not on DB, he's pretty bad. And even when he's on DB, he's still pretty bad. I mean, I don't know how he is post-Plat, or I think it was a Plat he got, right? I just know that on release, I remember him being the leader in this problem. And I remember seeing everyone talking about this, how it's like, why are you restricting him? I remember seeing everyone talk about this, right? So, point being, I just do not like it when basic stats or things that every character has are being taken away from others to be on a specific team. And again, there are exceptions to that. Like there are one-offs. Super Saiyan 4 Goku is one of them, where it's like, I would not want him to have indestructible on other teams. If anything, I think they should have also added his no switching to be conditional, because that shit is more annoying than his indestructible. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Super Saiyan 4 Goku's no switching for 10 counts and the vanish removal is arguably more annoying. No, I think it is more annoying than his indestructible, right? I honestly would rather you flip that. I mean, I honestly think he just shouldn't have both, to be honest. So, I mean, I would rather him have one or the other. But I'm just saying, I actually think that mechanic is more intimidating than his indestructible, but that's a whole different conversation. So, the point being is just this, I sparked a lot of controversy with this tweet, understandably so, because it was not phrased very, very properly for what I was trying to convey. So I get it that people were upset, but I also feel like I needed to speak out on this, because if I am wrong, if you all disagree with me, then I'll take the L. But as of right now, I don't feel like I am wrong necessarily, in the sense where I just want units to be fun, right? They don't have to be mind-blowing. They don't need to be Ultra Majin Vegeta #1 for years. Well, years is a bit of a stretch, but you know what I'm saying. I just want units to be usable and fun. And there have been units in the past where they get hit with that issue, where they take away something basic they should have that other people have, and it just fucking died. Like, that unit is dead in the water, right? I don't remember who it was. There's a unit on the tip of my tongue that had this issue where I was hyped for them for so long because they announced their Zenkai and I knew it was coming, and then they came out and they were bad. Oh, well, I didn't remember the unit. It was Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken transforming Goku, but his problem was that he just didn't get fucking buffed. He actually just, they didn't do anything for him. It wasn't this issue, so that was a completely different topic. But just in general, I don't like it when they do this, and I feel like it's been happening a lot, where they'll restrict, for example, this, where it makes this unit borderline good or usable, and then it's team locked. Now, with a rival UI, I don't know if this is going to be some game-defying mechanic. I doubt it. I strongly doubt that reduced sub count is going to change them generationally. Now, I don't know how much this damage up is. So if the damage up is something insane, and that's what makes Rev UI borderline, that's going to piss me off. So anyways, that's all I really made this video to say. I just wanted to convey this point. I doubt that many people are even going to watch this, but for those that do, I feel like, explain this in more detail so you can better understand what I was trying to say here. Because my intention was not saying, yes, Super Saiyan 4 Goku at max power with Ultra Modification. No, hell no, dude. I don't want that. That would be horrible. That would, oh my god, it would kill the game. That's like giving Majin Ku and Do feint, like making their feint unrestricted, like just making it universal, where they just apply feint everywhere. Like, yes, I am happy they don't do that. I am glad that they locked them, but that's not necessarily because it makes them usable. That's because it's a toxic ass mechanic and it shouldn't be in the game. I hate feint. It shouldn't exist. Paralysis and feint, get them out. But if I had a choice, yes, I'd rather be team locked, because at least with stuff like that, if the team falls off, that unit will as well. I guess it's like, for example, with support units, right? If support units got team locked, I feel like this argument would be flipped, where like, maybe Pan, the red Pan from movies. Imagine if all of her support was only for like specifically Gohan and Piccolo. I know I think she has a sub count thing in there for Gohan and Piccolo, but imagine if that was just her entire kit. It was just restricted to them. Like, you would never use her, right? But then again, I think people also didn't like her, so I don't know. But anyways, I've said what I needed to say. If you disagree, that's fine. I will say there was a lot of name calling. And a lot of accusations being thrown out. We gotta be nice around here, boys. It's very difficult to listen to some people and understand what they're saying when all they're doing is calling you names. It's crazy though, because I'm not used to this exposure. Like, getting this much backlash, I'm not used to it. So maybe this is just like, a rookie thing. But it is very hard to listen to people when people are just going, yeah, fuck you, you bitch, you're stupid. And it's like, all right, like, there are some respectable comments that I can understand, that I can read and respond to, but when people are just name calling, it just makes me think I'm rage baiting. Maybe I was by making this tweet, who knows? Okay, anyways, I've been yapping a lot. I've said what I needed to say. Yeah, anyways, goodbye.